Everybody good on the white balance? You guys good? Audio check testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Audio check. You good? You good? All right.
Hey, it's Rick. I'm on 91 for Ohio Clock. Test 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Cool. Thanks, man. Hey, Padma. Yeah, I just do continuity just now. You good? Yeah, I just. Cookies.
Muy huevos. Give us some time to go crazy with this. Can't stand in front of me.
I'm excited to see the other side of the comic today because I'm over here. Flipped.
What if I change
Dark
my
side
mind?
of the moon, yeah.
If I change my mind,
Oh wait, this would be the same side.
Yes, indeed.
Are you serious? Oh. How many days
What? What's that? Of them going out? No. And then the exposure was not catching up. Like the auto exposure didn't seem to catch up to where. Maybe I didn't have the shutter speed or aperture. I was trying to use auto ISO to shoot like bank of six, and then I walk out. And I walk out, and it's still like massively overexposed. I'm like, is this thing on? I should have just. That's why I do manual everything.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do the Friday appointment.
I was gonna get a new porch, but.
Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to do this.
Sorry. If I can hold this position for any longer.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The integrity and independence of the Supreme Court is once again under attack. Last year, the Democratic leader went over on the steps of the Supreme Court, called a couple of the members out by name, and actually threatened reprisals if they didn't rule the way he chose. Senator Whitehouse and others have filed amicus briefs, similarly threatening the court. And now we have, within the court itself, someone else threatening the independence of the court. I want to applaud the Chief Justice for indicating the court is going to investigate. I want to underscore the separation of powers. This is the Supreme Court's job to investigate the leak. The Chief Justice has indicated that's exactly what he's going to do. And I hope that the leaker, who is extremely likely to be found given the limited number of people who have the ability to access early drafts of opinions, will be dealt with as severely as the law may allow, and certainly the Supreme Court, as the most prominent law body in the country, would know what is the appropriate penalty. On Ukraine, I want to reiterate to the administration the way to get relief to Ukraine quickly is for the Ukraine package to move by itself. there is overwhelming bipartisan support for getting the Ukrainians as much help as they need as quickly as possible. For that to happen here in the Congress, that package needs to be moved all by itself without the other extraneous issues that we've been debating related to Title 42 and additional help for therapeutics. So that's the way to make progress on Ukraine quickly. With regard to the revelation of today, I'm confident the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court will find the leaker and move forward to apply appropriate punishment.
Well, I'd like to associate myself with the remarks of the leader with respect to the leak at the Supreme Court. The court is an independent branch of our government, and they need to conduct their own independent investigation, get to the bottom of this, and hold those responsible accountable. Last week, the President of the United States made a fairly revealing comment when he said that children are not their parents' children when they're in the classroom. And it's revealing in a lot of ways because I think it emphasizes the Democrats' view when it comes to kids, and the teachers' union's views when it comes to our kids. And I think that was probably put on full display when the administration adopted a rule that requires toddlers to wear masks if they are in a Head Start facility, even if they are outside on the playground. It was a very sweeping rule, and it's one that I think is completely inconsistent with what we understand to be the role of parents when it comes to making the decisions that are the best interests of their kids. So we're going to vote today on a Congressional Review Act resolution of disapproval that would disapprove of this rule. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to go on the record on whether or not toddlers under the age of 5, even when they're outside on the playground, ought to be required to wear masks. And I would point out that even the World Health Organization has concluded that toddlers shouldn't have to wear masks, that that's not necessary, and that there isn't a public health or safety benefit associated with that. We think this is a great example of government overreach, of government putting themselves in the role that should be reserved for parents making decisions that are in the best interest of their children. So that vote is going to happen later today, and I certainly hope that we not only have every Republican, which I believe we will, but that we'll have some wise Democrats who want to make sure that our parents are in charge of their children and not the government.
Well, there's more bad news that came out last Friday for families who are struggling in the Biden economy. The economic headlines point out that people are falling further behind. Prices keep going up and wages can't keep up. So people are feeling stuck, stressed, and squeezed. So it's no surprise then to see the Washington Post ABC poll number showing that more than 9 in 10 Americans reported concerns about rising prices. 9 in 10 Americans. And for people that have savings, what they're seeing are their savings melting away. So you have this combination of soaring inflation and a stagnant economy. We haven't had that since the 1970s. They call it stagflation. So people are actually feeling poorer, and the reason they're feeling poorer is their dollars don't go as far as it was before to buy things, so they are actually poorer. And Joe Biden and this administration don't seem to get it. Otherwise, why would he laugh at inflation over the weekend at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? They don't get it when Chuck Schumer talks about the only solution to inflation, he said, is to actually increase taxes, raise the rates. People have to empty their wallets to fill their gas tanks. This isn't a time to raise taxes. It's never the time to raise taxes. So you have Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer there as Thelma and Louise heading straight over the cliff. The American people deserve better much better from what this administration is providing for them.
Well, on the inflation front, American families clearly concerned about food. Food prices going up as energy prices go up, as fertilizer prices go up, all the input costs go up. What we're really seeing happen, though, in the world stage right now is a true food disaster in the making. I've talked to former Governor David Beasley, who runs the World Food Program, Ambassador McCain, who's our representative to that program, of what happens because of what's happening in Ukraine. You can find different numbers on this, but roughly 25% of all the wheat exports in the world come from Ukraine and Russia. About 20% of all the corn exports in the world. 90% of the sunflower cooking oil comes from there, and a lot of fertilizer comes from there. Right now, from Ukraine, which is the bigger partner in that food distribution of the two countries, nothing's coming out of Ukraine. Nothing's coming out of the port at Odessa. Nothing's coming out of the port at Mariupol, and hasn't since the Russian invasion began. This has huge impact on the whole world, but particularly on Africa. Food in Ukraine, food in Africa. What's in the silos in Ukraine right now is not getting out, and Ukrainian farmers aren't getting crops planted for this year. This has to be something we're really watching carefully. There are a lot of hungry people all over the world already, but if you reduce this great source of food, the sort of breadbasket of the world, we're a great exporter of food, but this area is going to be dramatically impacted, and that impacts our prices as well. But the real issue here at this moment may not be nearly as much price as is real hunger, right? In some occurring today, a lot more could occur just a few months from today if we don't start thinking about how we deal with this part of that crisis.
It's Small Business Week, and 99% of Iowa is small business. And so as a senior Republican on the Small Business Committee, I am working very hard to find ways to help our small businesses and really get big government off of their backs. What I would like to see, of course, is unleashing more American energy and increasing innovation. And so much of that innovation does come from our small businesses. So now the Democrats, of course, had a bit of bad news again this last week with the GDP this last quarter slipping another 1.4%. That is bad news across the board. And what we need to see, again, is really focusing on ways that we can build up small businesses, unleash the economy. But what their answer is, as Democrats with Leader Schumer, is to say, we need to raise your taxes and spend more money as a federal government. And folks, I'm here to tell you, it hasn't worked in the past year plus of the Biden administration. It's not going to work when Americans and small businesses are hurting with so many inflationary issues and supply chain challenges. So again, let's find ways to ease the burden off of our small businesses. Let's get big government off of their backs, and let's get this economy roaring the way it should. Let's see some shifts in leadership and make sure we're supporting our small businesses.
In the last few days, the Biden administration announced that the Department of Homeland Security now has a disinformation board. This isn't about the truth. This isn't about protecting families. This is about your federal government deciding what truth is and what speech is acceptable. Anybody that read George Orwell's 1984 remembers the thought police. In the thought police, they would tell everybody exactly how they could think and what they could say. If you remember this, we've been dealing with this with social media, where they decided that, taking an example with Hunter Biden's laptop, what was true and what was not true. And Republican senators were conspiracy theorists because that's what they decided. Now we know that all the stories about about Biden's laptop, it was Hunter Biden's laptop. So every American should be concerned about the Biden administration now creating a disinformation board that is going to be able to tell Americans what the truth is, just like PolitiFact. They'll go off to the left. They'll tell Americans exactly what the truth is and what you can talk about.
You have adamantly, you've been adamant in the past about protecting the filibuster. I just wonder if the Supreme Court does indeed strike down Roe and you are majority leader, do you commit to keeping the filibuster in place at all costs?
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't want to break the Senate, and that's breaking the Senate. And we went through that exercise a couple of months ago. I said it was the most important day in the history of the Senate as an institution. That remains the case, and will, as far as I'm concerned, if we're in the majority, remain the case in perpetuity. Yeah.
You spent decades trying to remake the court, overturn Roe. You're possibly single-handedly responsible for the 6-3 majority. So do you take personal credit for abortion rights likely to go away for millions of people in this country?
Yeah, I think the story today is an effort by someone on the inside to discredit the institution of the Senate, which continues a pattern that we've observed over the last couple of years. Leader Schumer over on the steps of the Supreme Court calling out justices by name. Sheldon Whitehouse and others filing amicus briefs threatening the court. Efforts to pack the court. Efforts to have term limits for court justices. What's unique about today is this is the first time we've had somebody on the inside try to attack the institution. Fortunately, I think the Chief Justice has taken that seriously and will find the leaker.
Leader McConnell, Democrats say that the prospect of Roe being overturned and some of the more restrictive trigger laws coming into effect without exemptions for rape and incest will shock the public and motivate voters in November. What is your response to that? How does this change the midterms?
Well, that's not the story for today. The story for the day is what I just said.
Leader McConnell.
Yeah.
If Roe is struck down, do you see a need for federal abortion restriction legislation in Congress?
Look, all of this puts the cart before the horse. We have 3 Supreme Court clerks in my conference. They all explain the procedure. And our entire conversation today was about what I've just been talking to you about. And you need, it seems to me, excuse the lecture, to concentrate on what the news is today. Not a leaked draft, but the fact that the draft was leaked.
On that,
What is the crime sound?
these hips and here. And
So wait, what's your question?
that's true. No,
Not your way. There's no way it's gonna work. Yeah, just like you. Nothing? I mean, after all of that, so did Brett. But they are very sticky. Like, my best friend. It's like, it's untested. There's a big market. You're the TV guy, see that? No, we were working out. I'm watching parents. Here's the COVID model. Seems like don't sit my website. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, see you.
It's about time for your nap, Oliver.
Yeah.
Siesta.
Well, one of my best friends is having a baby, his wife's having a baby this weekend. He promised to give his parents. So, like, we're gonna have a cleaning person clean the clean all the surfaces. And then they're gonna come. So I'm gonna be home Thursday night. My wife said I need to stay in our basement until the 10 days. You know, 5 days home and 5 days in the house. So, it's like, we need to stay, you know, we're not sleeping together, we need to well, I wouldn't go hang out with my kids. It's not my choice. Yeah, whatever. We were saying. She is, but she's like, as long as she's, you have the choice to not do it with us for a couple of days. She didn't, so I started feeling symptoms on Monday or Tuesday. And I immediately went to the I had like 6 or 7 tests, PCRs that were negative. Friday last week, top to bottom. Did it? By the way, reporting one of these things to the city is yeah, it was supposed Saturday night. And then funny thing is, I was wearing a mask, Irene was wearing a mask, Katie Till was not wearing a mask. She did not get it. No, her husband never got it. She never got it. Her husband and kid, one of his kids had it. She never got it. Nope. Isn't that crazy? Just a little freedom of not having to worry about it. Yeah, 10 days past. Yeah. You spelled 3 out, but you are good. 3 months. Again, caveat, it's definitely not the same for everybody. If I had that daughter or dad, you could have and then you're kind of in the clear for a little bit, or you're just mean, the nice thing is, summer, this means I'll be free from May. Do you have to test negative to get how that exposure worked out? It's good. I don't know. I haven't been out of country. Too much color. You initially well, no, Keystone Cops. They're coming out of every time we go. Your parents stay with your kid? Well, they were going to. Really busy now. Anyway, so all my dad. I tried to call him, but I'm sorry. Oh, jeez. Oh, no, what? I'm asked to inside. Yeah. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we that's a lot of money. How'd you fly that? Yeah, that's at 6. The flight was at 6:30. And we were on the beach. That's great. Because it's only like 30 minutes from here. You're on it today. We did Bahamas before COVID. My wife was watching, and my mom. They were all like, you were at this dinner. You get COVID. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. Preach your power. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry we're late, but our caucus started late because of our rally outside on the steps. And I'm joined by Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow. If we had to pick a word that our caucus feels, it's infuriated. Infuriated by the alleged decision, infuriated by the lies these justices told us when they said they'd respect precedent, infuriated by our Republican colleagues who don't tell the truth. It is utterly amazing that Mitch McConnell did not want to say he supports repealing Roe v. Wade at this meeting. Every time it was brought up substantively about Roe v. Wade, all he did is talk about the leaks. Republicans are spending all their focus on the leak because they don't want to focus on Roe v. Wade. They know they're on the wrong side of history. They know they're on the wrong side of the American people. So they're ducking it and hiding behind this so-called leaks situation. They do not want to focus on Roe. I heard that Mitch McConnell was asked, are you proud that you got Roe repealed? And he wouldn't even answer yes or no. They spent a decade, 2 decades, trying to repeal Roe, and now they won't own up to it. They're like the dog that caught the bus. They know they're on the wrong side of history. They know they're on the wrong side of where the American people are. They know they'll pay consequences in the 2022 elections. And their spin masters are telling them to avoid the subject. And they did. Incredible. One of the most horrible decisions that looks like it's coming from the Supreme Court, in line with some of the worst decisions throughout the court's history, that they caused, and they can't own up to it. They're afraid. So the bottom line is, we know that history is on our side, and we know the politics is on our side. And you can be sure in 2022, this is going to be an issue all across the country. And Republicans will not be able to run away from it. Not be able to run away from it. Republicans sought this outcome for years. You'd think they'd be celebrating. A few are, the real hard-right fanatics, but not Leader McConnell or most of the Republicans. I want to make 3 things clear. It's our intention in the Senate to hold a vote on legislation to codify the right to an abortion in law very soon. Second, a vote on this legislation is no longer an abstract exercise. It's as urgent and as real as it gets. We will vote to protect a woman's right to choose. Every American is going to see where every senator stands. Which side are they on? Women's health, women's rights, a mainstream America that protects liberty, or on the side of darkness, retrograde history. So the bottom line is this. We are asking the public, I don't think we need to, but we're asking the public to raise their voices. In the next week, let every senator know how you feel. Write, call, email, however you contact them. And continue to raise your voices throughout the year. Our candidates are already talking about this from one end of the country to the other. I cannot tell you the outrage I feel at this decision. And the outrage I feel that Republicans who did it won't own up to it and duck it. It's despicable. We're not talking about anything inconsequential. We're talking about women's health, a women's right to choose, and the millions and millions and millions of American women who have felt the need to have an abortion. Just about every one of us knows someone in that situation. And they want to take it all away. And they won't stop there. This right-wing retrograde court put in by our Republican Senate, many other rights are at risk if they succeed in getting this accomplished. So that's the bottom line here, folks. We have a great contrast between the Republican vision for America and our vision for America. This isn't your grandfather's Republican Party, America. It's Donald Trump's Republican Party. It's a right-wing Republican Party. It's a party where your children will have less rights than you did. So, I still firmly believe in my very bones that the story of American democracy is the story of progress. I believe we will win this fight because the American people are strongly, strongly, strongly on our side. Senator Murray.
Well, thank you. I went to the steps of the Capitol earlier today where I spoke about these alarming reports we are seeing that the Supreme Court plans to end the constitutional right to abortion in this country and overturn Roe v. Wade. This is a 5-alarm fire. This was always the Republicans' end goal, ending the right to abortion. Extreme Republicans were never going to stop at the state level, and mark my words, they are not going to stop with Roe and the right to abortion either. They are coming for your birth control, for all reproductive health care. So we are not going to be quiet. We are going to keep fighting because we do not want this to become a country where women are forced to remain pregnant no matter their personal circumstances. And yes, we are talking about situations like rape and incest. A country where extreme politicians will control patients' most private decisions. A country where, for the very first time ever, the next generation of women will have fewer rights than their mothers. So listen, you've probably already heard from many of my colleagues who are upset and horrified, who are heartbroken, but we are also determined, and we are ready to fight back. And we're going to make sure that anyone who has not felt the weight of this moment yet, who doesn't think this could happen, who doesn't think it matters to them, gets the message loud and clear. We're going to make sure that every single person in every single state understands this impacts you, your choices, your rights. It's not happening to someone else in some other state. It's happening everywhere. And in the highest court in the land is preparing to rip away your rights at this very moment. So let me be clear. I'm not going to stop fighting to get to President Biden a bill to protect the right to abortion. But we need Americans everywhere to send us more pro-choice Democrats in the Senate so we can get this done. I get it. It's frustrating. I've been fighting for abortion rights since I got to the U.S. Senate, but we need a pro-choice majority here in the Senate, and we need to protect the pro-choice majority in the House, and this November is when we need to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Murray. Senator Durbin.
Did he convince you? Did Mitch McConnell convince you that the real news story is not the opinion that was leaked? It was the leaker? Did he convince you? I hope not. I hope you understand what's at stake here. This is an historic decision authenticated by the Chief Justice of the Court. We know that at least the opinion at the moment is the one that we saw this morning. It really is significant. It's significant because if you read into it, it is part of the culture war. The culture war that you hear over and over from these Republicans, that elections are really about the culture of this country. And we become too liberal, too progressive. We've got to be very careful to shape and to protect family values. And you know the litany that they go through. Certainly abortion, a woman's rights to choose at the top, but there are many others too. All of you, I look around this crowd, are way too young to remember the day, and I can barely remember the experience, when states decided which contraception was legal and which was not. When there were decisions made as to whether people would be prosecuted because they were trying to seek family planning and it violated state laws. It took the case of Griswold versus Connecticut to say enough. The states aren't going to be able to tell people, families, mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, that's something that basic, that personal, that private. And Griswold came out for the proposition that privacy is something we value as Americans. How do you vote on that one? Well, Senator McConnell doesn't want to raise that issue because he knows how Americans feel about their privacy, as they should. And it isn't just about the internet. It's about your personal life, your relationship with your spouse, your decision on what your family's going to look like. Should that be the Republican decision, the state decision, or your decision? We believe it's yours. And McConnell won't raise this issue because he can't defend this invasion of privacy in American families, whether we're talking about contraception, whether we're talking about sexual orientation, whether we're talking about something as basic as a marriage, same-gender marriage. These sorts of things are happening across America, and they reflect the mentality of the moment. Hard to imagine that as long as they have fought this battle, as Senator Schumer said, for decades, here they have indication that it's coming their way big time. You'd think they'd be dancing in the streets on the Republican side. They're cowering. They want to talk about the leaker. They don't want to talk about the reality of what happened with this decision if it goes forward. And let me tell you, the second part of this thing is they're going to be on the record. They're not going to be able to escape this situation. As Senator Schumer said, we're going to get the vote on the floor. They're going to face it as to whether or not they're going to stand behind Roe versus Wade and the protections included in it on rape and incest and other provisions. We're going to have a matter of record. The American people will know the issue. They'll know what it means to them if the Alito's stark, brazen reasoning continues, and they'll also know which members of the Senate are for them or against them. The election in this November is going to be a referendum on privacy and your rights to freedom as an American. They don't want to make that the case. They want it to be, oh, it's inflation. It's something at the border. No, it's something more basic than that. It's in your bedroom. And we want to make sure the American people understand that's the reality of this issue.
Thank you, Dick. Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you so much. And as Senator Durbin said, sort of looking around at all of you, this has been something we've talked about theoretically a long time, but it's not been real till this moment for you in your life. And that's where we are right now. This is an incredibly serious moment for women and for our healthcare system. And it's something we have been warning about for a long time. Even last September, in putting out one of our captured courts reports, we talked specifically about the Republican judicial assault on reproductive rights, which has been building and building and building. Now, they're more than willing to send out fundraising emails about this, and my guess would be that they've sent them out today. But they won't stand here. Mitch McConnell won't stand here and answer your questions and own up publicly to what they have done. And we know that if this leaked Supreme Court decision is accurate, this really is the ultimate intrusion into a woman's right to privacy. Michigan women are particularly at risk. If Roe goes away, my state reverts to a very patronistic law from 1931, that makes abortions at any stage a felony with no exceptions for rape and incest. Now, our Governor Whitmer, has seen this coming and has the courage to now come forward with legal action to ask the Michigan Supreme Court to declare the 1931 law contrary to our nation's or to our state's constitution. Our great Attorney General in Michigan, Dana Nessel, and several county prosecutors have said they will not enforce it. They understand what we know, what Senate Democrats understand, that women have a right to make our own health care decisions. And banning abortion doesn't stop abortions, it just stops safe and legal abortions. It all comes down to who makes the decision on your health care, who makes the decision for your life, for your future as a woman in America. People in this building right here, Republicans in the United States Senate who want to make the decision for you, a right-wing Supreme Court who wants to make the decision for you, or do you get to make it? We stand with the women of America. We know we have to pass the Women's Health Protection Act now, and then we need to vote in November as if our lives depend on it, because they do.
Thank you, Senator Stabenow.
What is the abortion bill text that you will vote on? Is it the same text that the Senate already voted on?
We'll be introducing Rule 14ing it this week, and it will codify Roe v. Wade. Yes, go ahead, Manu.
Given that Amy Coney Barrett here is likely to be in the majority, do you regret the decision of Ruth Bader Ginsburg to not step aside from the court and for Democrats not to urge her to do so?
I'm not going to second guess Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yes.
Senator Schumer, Senator Collins and Murkowski have a separate bill on codifying Roe v. Wade. Would you consider putting that legislation forward and not the one that
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it.
I mean, the dynamics that led you to not be able to codify Roe previously remain. You still don't have the votes to nuke the filibuster. You still don't have the votes to pass that bill. What are you going to do once that bill goes down yet again?
Look, it's a different world now. The tectonic plates of our politics on women's choice and on rights in general are changing. Every senator now, under the real glare of Roe v. Wade being repealed by the courts, is going to have to show which side they're on. And we will find the best way to go forward after that. But don't think that what happened 2 weeks ago will be exactly the same, certainly out in America, that it is now. Yes.
Mr. Leader, you had a very strong statement this morning, last night, in which you and Speaker Pelosi accused the justices of lying, of being liars. That's a strong statement, unprecedented itself.
Look, the bottom line is, when asked about Roe v. Wade, they said they'd follow precedent, and on issue after issue, they are no longer following precedent. That was misleading the American people. And we have many instances in their private interviews when they talk to people, just the same. They were true misleading. Yes.
Have you spoken to Senator Manchin about this bill?
No,
He was the lone
I have not. Yes.
What this opinion what this opinion would mean for other cases,
Yes.
like same-sex marriage and abortion.
This court has shown such recklessness in obeying precedent that we worry that other precedents will be overturned. Precedents relating to LGBTQ rights, precedents relating to birth control in terms of Griswold and privacy, even precedents relating to whole other types of issues like environment and labor and things like that. Yes, we are very worried that what has happened today is unfortunately a direction the court wants to go in too many other places, because they have shown just total disregard for precedent, despite when they came before us when they said they would obey precedent. Yes, no?
Given that the conservative court majority is likely to be around for a while, do Democrats need to look more seriously at court expansion?
Look, the bottom line is our first step is to have the vote that we're going to have next week. And the bottom line is that we're going to look to these elections in November, and I think it's going to, the American people are going to speak loudly and clearly that we need some change. We cannot have a right-wing court run America. How that changes, we'll have to see. Last
Can I ask
one.
you a separate topic on COVID and Ukraine? Do you intend to pair those together? Have you made a decision on that?
Look, we believe very strongly that we have to get both done. The Ukrainian people desperately need our help. And COVID relief may see, it's a little, in a sense, this way. It may be abstract now, but when the next variant hits and scientists tell us 95% chance, and all of the great therapeutics are already bought up by other countries, the vaccines are bought up by other countries, and the American people don't have them, that's going to be a terrible thing. So we're urging our Republican colleagues not to stand in the way of COVID relief. We need to figure out the best way to get both done, and that's what we're going to try to do in the next few weeks. Thank you, everybody.
Should the leaker be punished? Should the leaker be punished?
All clear? Yeah.